Welcome to episode 79 of Nobody Special.
In this episode, we talk about church searches and the Babylon Bee versus Snopes.
The Gospel Outpost presents Nobody Special. Hey everyone, welcome to Nobody Special, two nobodies talking about the somebody who matters. I'm Danny, the church hunter and host of Nobody Special.
And I'm Caleb, your other host of Nobody Special. This is a show where two generations of people talk about God, pop culture, politics, and everything in between, all while not taking any of it too seriously.
Hi Caleb.
Hello.
Caleb, when we're taping this, there's a hurricane coming.
There is?
And I checked...
Wait, when we're Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I checked Facebook, and guess what time it is?
What?
It's panic o'clock. Apparently, everyone is now a meteorologist.
It's true.
And we're all gonna die. And I feel as if.
Okay, here's the thing.
If.
No, continue.
This is our last episode because Caleb and I will be dead.
Yep.
Unless we decide to
we'll
take
be in a better place
tonight, which we won't.
But here's the thing about hurricanes. I don't understand how everyone is still surprised by them.
Right, every Labor Day.
Like, it is the most annoying thing that people are like, they're dumb. I'm just going to say it. Because they do this, they react the same way, even though it's a hurricane. You live in Florida, just get used to it.
Right. Now, I don't think people understand the amount of water they need because people are treating it as if it's Mad Max out there, and that they're like, it's me and my cat, and we need 8,000 gallons. Because I was at Publix just to like get burgers, because I don't know. I feel like I should be more concerned about this hurricane, and I'm just not at all.
You probably should be more concerned. I always err on the side of worse.
That is not true. You stayed in town. Multiple hurricanes that were huge.
I've only stayed in town. I've never left. Like when I was a kid. But I'm saying I prepared for the worst in the case of get flashlights, get water, not freaking 8 pallets worth of water, but
just for you and the cat.
But I mean,
I hope she had 5 kids at home because that was the amount of water she got. It was a full shopping cart.
Maybe she did.
I hope so.
And maybe she just normally buys water.
She didn't know about the hurricane.
Hurricane?
I'm thirsty.
Yeah, that's what my mom texted this morning. She's like, how are you guys prepping for the hurricane? And I was like, hurricane?
I got some Cliff Bars. If I need to eat, I'll just eat those.
Hurricane?
Also,
what hurricane?
I mean, studying fasting and that kind of stuff, people underestimate how many days they can actually go without food. It's closer to 20.
Yeah.
Now, granted, water's a bit different, so I get it. Now, all right, I do gotta say the funny thing. This is a true story, and may or may not actually. I don't know. I'm trying to not poop on a company, but so I won't say their name.
All right.
Do you know those bougie waters that have the kind of I drink this brand of water? It's got the fancy.
Yeah.
Tops and lids.
No, you can say the brand. Everyone knows.
No, I don't want to say it, just in case. Those were still fully stocked in Publix, and everything else was gone. Just like I need this, but I would rather die than drink insert bougie water here. It's so pretentious. I don't know. That to me it was just funny because everything else is picked clean, but there's this very clear row of this very.
Is that the ones with the silver caps?
Yep.
Yeah. What's the name of it?
I don't know.
I really want you to say it.
Yeah, but no, people are kind of freaking out, and I just, don't freak out. Everyone's gonna die sometime. That's not what I meant to say at all.
So be it.
Caleb, I had this idea for a new segment that I think I want to do because oftentimes there are plenty of stories that we just don't get to cover.
Right.
And that's important because some of them are funny and there just isn't a full story out of them, or a bigger story comes up that it needs to be covered, and these are time-based kind of stories.
Right.
Or, to be honest, sometimes we just forget to talk about something.
Yeah.
So I would like to start a new segment called Rejected Stories. So these are going to be quick. And please enjoy this.
do it.
Please tell us if this is a segment that's actually funny or not, because it's really funny in my head, and it may not actually be funny at all. So, our first story, French's, the people who make French's mustard, they made a mustard tasting ice cream. So if all of us could take a moment in prayer for the people at French's to find God.
Amen. Second story. Lead singer of Skillet completely blasts the Hillsong worship leader and tells everyone that the worship leaders should not be the thought leaders and source of theology from churches, and then immediately blows up and becomes the most shared post on Facebook with articles and all that stuff.
They completely ignored him on that.
Yep.
American Christianity has been reported to feel as if they're feeling more and more persecuted about their faith, because they actually have to give an account for the faith they hold and everything else. On an unconnected story, Nigerian pastors are actually being dragged out of their churches and beaten to death. It's, whatever.
Senator Gillibrand dropped out of the race for a Democratic candidacy, and 1 down, 23 to go.
A UMC pastor is facing disciplinary actions for being in an open homosexual relationship. Now, this goes against the Book of Discipline, the standards of the UMC church, and even the Bible. So I'm not really sure what they thought was going to happen here. Yeah, no, people are really upset about that one. It's like, I can't believe they're drawing her up on trials for this. This is an actual story. It's just happening.
Yeah.
And
what are we actually talking about though? What is our next segment, Danny?
No, I wanna. They're really.
Oh, you really wanted to stick on that.
Okay,
you really wanted to stick on that.
We wanna. Just beating this segment to death. So we have a new message from an old listener. That doesn't make any sense.
You're really old.
Mr. Cheat.
Really old
super
listener.
Old.
90s.
Crazy old.
100s.
Hey, Mr. Chi-Chi has asked us a new question, and the way I figured it out is he'll ask a new question when we answer his previ's question,
It's true. So
which
let's just
explains
keep on
why
answering.
we didn't hear from him for 4 months. I'm so sorry.
I don't think that's how that works, but...
Yeah, but he did send it in the day that episode came out. I was like, oh, good. Now my next question. So, Caleb, take it away. It's actually a really great question that I'm glad is being covered in this time.
Hey, guys. I just moved to a new city for college, and I'm looking for a new church home. What advice do you have for looking for a non-denominational church that fits with what I believe? Now, Alex is a dear friend of mine.
Yes.
And I miss you if you're listening to this, which you probably will.
Make the heart, Alex. Get out.
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow.
Are we going to make the friend zone heart?
Friend zone heart.
You didn't know about the friend zone heart? All right, make the heart.
This?
No, just half of it.
Half of it? Oh, that's funny. If you want to see that, you have to tune into the YouTube.
Someone actually did that to someone.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Anyways.
There's F's in chat for that guy.
So Alex, he went away to college at Belhaven, a awesome school.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And
I Googled it.
I'm excited for you, Alex, and I've been praying for you. And
just kind of...
This is a great question.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great question.
I know that Bible study I'd been doing, they're all off in different parts of the country, actually. One of them's off at Cal... Is he at Berkeley? I don't know. Some really good college. Another's in Indiana. I got a lot in Gainesville. One in Tally. One in Penn
State?
No, the other one. A University of Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's far away.
UPenn. Which is different than Penn. UPenn. That's not their cheer. I don't know anything about that school. But all of them, they've had to go through this process of, okay, now I'm in college. I'm in this new place.
Right.
And I need to find a new church because I've told all of them, and I'll tell anybody else going into college, I feel very strong that as a person goes off to college, they have 21 days to go to church, or the odds of them actually going to church are very, very small. Because that's the amount of days it takes to build a habit. So if they don't go in the first 21 days, the odds of them going go down so very much. But
Right.
as all of us know, changing churches is hard, and it's even harder if everything is anew in the process.
Right.
So, I have a couple of thoughts, and I know that you have a couple thoughts also. But
Yes.
kind of the first thing I'd tell people is just go and keep trying.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to go to a church until until planting in a place. I think a good amount of times people go, well, I tried a church and it just didn't work out, so I'm going to take
Right.
off the next 3 years. No, just keep, I mean, there's churches all over the place. This is America. It's not as if there's only two church options, the church and the church I don't go to. There's probably hundreds of churches in college towns.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep trying until a place fits. And if by chance that you go through all of them, start over, because then it might just be you. Like, I don't know.
It's true.
Is that too harsh?
No, that's not too harsh.
I tried 100 churches and
Unless
all
they're
of them
like-
are bad.
Unless they're all Pentecostal, then you're just
All
kidding.
right.
I'm kidding. I'm
Goodness.
kidding. I'm kidding.
No,
kidding.
I mean, you know,
Well, I mean, for him, since he's non-denominational. But, I mean, that is a good thing. Obviously, I've never had to deal with this because I didn't go to college. But, I mean, like, I've still, like, played out what
Right.
I would do in my head.
Right.
You know, if I did go to college. And I think that's kind of where it is just find a church that even if you don't agree with 100%,
right.
get in a community of believers,
Right.
because it's super important. Especially if
Right.
you're not at like a Christian college or something like that. I think it's super important.
Absolutely.
Also, Google is your best friend nowadays.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It shouldn't be crazy hard.
No.
Type in non-denominational church near me.
Well, and I mean, part of it would kind of depend on the stance a person has on this, of course, but at the same time, the church people have growing up, you know, that church has a lot of nostalgia going for it. And that's an actual thing that you know, the church I grew up in is going to have a soft spot towards a few different things. And as I'm trying to
Right.
find other places, comparing to that church isn't necessarily speaking going to be the best option, because a good amount of times unfair comparisons can come out about that. I mean, go and keep trying, but also at some point you got to commit to some place, because bouncing from church to church to church, I know adults that do that, and they're the least spiritually healthy adults I can think of.
Right.
That's okay for a time, but as a permanent, that's not a permanent answer to the whole problem.
Right.
And I think a good amount of times people think, well, no, I'm just not getting fed. Well, all right, maybe it's not even about that, or it's not perfect. It's not 100% the thing I'm trying to find. Well, it's not about you, Skipper. I mean, that's not the idea. This is a day to praise God, not to praise the own ego-driven preferences I have. That might be
Well, I
harsh,
mean,
and I don't think that necessarily
I
applies
think there's
to
a
Alex.
bit of
and I think I'm on a
both.
yeah.
Like, you do need to go to church for yourself as well. It is a time for the saints to be equipped.
Sure.
But I mean, also, it is important to not forget the purpose of it.
Right.
And the purpose of Christianity. It's not about you. But I mean, that being said, I think like something that's interesting to me is, like you were saying, people hop around and don't feel like bad about that, but it is important to settle down somewhere.
Right,
and
absolutely.
that doesn't mean that you have to, once again, fully agree with that place.
Sure.
But I think it's important to even see like just the diversity of
Sure.
Christians.
Sure.
And I think this is a cool
in-
time to see that, if you know what I mean.
Sure. And to be clear, I guess probably the kind of bit of a soapbox I got on is not even aimed at Alex at all. It's just I know those adults that they'll change churches every 3 months, and that just isn't healthy to
Right.
never commit to a church, because this program isn't the this and this and this. I'm like, there is an aspect of it that they're just not getting.
Right.
That church isn't about them. Now,
That's
in
another.
college, it's still important. There are
Mm-hmm.
aspects of church that I think need to be held dear, but then there's other aspects that you have to be willing to give up a bit.
That's
Um,
yeah. And I think another big thing, and this just goes to going to church in general,
Right.
is to pray before you even go, and make sure that your heart is in the right place. And what I mean by that is like, is your field open to being for seed to be planted,
Right.
or is it rocky and unable to be
Right.
grown there? I mean, like,
Right.
you need to make sure that it's not that you're not being fed, but it's that you're just actually not wanting to be
Right.
fed.
Exactly.
And that's important, especially in this time where you're looking for a place to go.
Sure. And then figuring out identity is another big thing too. I mean, going off to college, it changes a person, it shapes a person, and there's a good amount of choices that they need to make. I mean,
Right.
I've been talking to a few different people about this, and that the two aspects of Christianity that they have to have going on in order to make it are inpouring and outpouring. It needs to be that inpouring of being taught, trained, and growing in that aspect, but it can't stay there. It actually has to be expressed. Also, it has to be expressed out. That it's if it's just an input, then it's just the Dead Sea. It's just stuff comes in, and because it just stops there, it dies. The Dead Sea, people enjoy going to it because they can float in it, but they can float in it because it's just a lot of salt. And there isn't anything in there that can make it because of the
Is there living creatures in there?
no because
That's
it's the Dead
super
Sea.
cool.
Because it's
You can feel safe in that water. Wow.
no, actually they put up a lot of signs. I've been in it. They say please don't stay in longer than 45 minutes because it will start to eat away your skin.
Well, yeah, not that
know,
part of it, but
yeah.
I've heard about that. But
Yeah.
I'm saying, like,
It's an actual
no sharks, no fish that want to steal your life.
But I mean, out of a perspective of a kind of a farming culture, that is a waste of space to them.
Right, yeah.
They can't fish in that. It's just this body of water that can't do anything because it can't sustain, because it's just taking and it's not giving.
Right.
On the other end, if it's just outpouring, people burn out and dry up. If there isn't a constant inpouring and inflowing, then it just dries up, and then that's a whole different kind of inability to kind of keep anything going. So as far as churches go,
super important. Yeah.
there needs to be that opportunity to be poured into and to pour out.
Right.
And I think trying to find those in churches in college is important, because a good amount of them are just kind of trying to cater to the college person and tell them, hey, these are the things that are important, and I'm going to speak to this person to get them to stay. But there isn't the outpouring aspect either.
Right. And that's something I actually went to a service staff training for my church. And that's something that's super, super cool is, or not something, sorry, I lost track. But something that they told us that was super cool is that, and it's helpful to me, is make a list. So you have two sides, things that drain you and things that pour into you. And you need to, it is super helpful to figure out what those specific things are. It can go down to like hobbies you like to do, like cooking, that you are filled up by that, or hanging out with people. But like,
This podcast is both.
yeah, no, that's actually true, because on my list I had things that were on both sides.
Yeah.
And that was
And-
filming for me. Like, it fills me up, but also,
And they're not
pour it
bad
out.
things. If a thing drains a person, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
right.
I want to clarify that.
And even like serving in the church. There are people where that is them pouring out, and there's also people that's them being poured into. And it's super important to know what those are in your life, specific to you, because everyone is extremely different when it comes to this.
Right.
And I think that was something that helped me.
Right.
So like, make that list. And this is for, I think, everyone out there, not just Alex. But I mean, no matter what your age is, it is important to know those things and to know. And then at that point, once you know what those are, you can schedule or, like, okay, well, I'm filled up by reading the Bible and praying. Okay, I should do that in the morning. And then this night, I am serving at Students' Meet, so I'm going to be pouring out. So the next morning, I need to get filled back up again.
Right.
To make sure that it is an even process, because I think we've all been to the point where we're just poured out.
Right.
It's terrible. Like, you just want to go to sleep. Like,
Yeah.
I think it spiritually, emotionally, and physically drains you.
The most tired I ever am is after church on a Sunday. Now that I'm back in children's ministry and all that, now that I'm back in that is after church on Sunday. But prior to that, it was after a student group on a Wednesday. I was dead.
Yeah.
And not a functional person on Thursday until about 2:00.
Yeah.
Because and to be clear, if I've ever talked about student ministry, people understand this. I wouldn't have traded that for anything. I joke and said they paid me to go to staff meeting because I would have done the student ministry part for free. And so they only paid me for the amount that it would take to go to staff meeting. No, so
Nice.
no, but it's still those kinds of things. That kind of outpouring is draining, but in a good kind of a context. But it is also the same reason why pastors, if they get in trouble, tend to get in trouble on Sunday night and Monday. Because they've been drained. And I mean, preaching to anybody that they haven't done preaching, take public speaking, add a spiritual component, and make it personal. It's very draining because it's spiritual, and the spiritual attacks are real. And because of all the outpouring and draining, pastors, when they do stuff of, like buying prostitutes and that kind of stuff, tends to be on a Sunday night or Monday.
It's pretty drastic, right?
Well, no, I mean, if they get into trouble, it tends to be on those days. They've done studies and call it Black or Dark Monday or something like that. So because they're tired. Yeah,
for sure. And that's why it's super important, to know those things, and that can even, know the things that will take you down spiritually. Like, is it lust? Is it money? Is it drugs of some sort, or is it, for me, I mean, this is a minor one, but even just eating a ton of food when I am not, in the right headset.
Right.
But I mean,
especially because Wendy's spicy nuggets are back, and I drive by a Wendy's every dang day coming home now.
Yeah.
I have to call people so I don't stop at Wendy's.
You haven't called me yet.
Because you're working and you don't pick up the phone.
I pick up the phone. Do you? I don't respond to your text, but I do pick up the phone. Yeah.
But as far as picking a church goes, because we kind of got off topic, but that's not an apology. Sorry, Al. No, it's not an apology. Darn it. The thing I've found the most, or kind of the best determinant of a purpose of a church comes from Acts 2, verses 42 through 43. And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayers. And awe came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. So kind of the big parts of this is biblical teaching, coming together to hold each other accountable, and coming together just in a social kind of a context, and prayer. These are kind of the basics of a church.
Right.
Any church tries to kind of add to that, or kind of gloss it up or tart it up, is missing the point. The teaching needs to be scriptural, biblical-based teaching.
Right.
And that it needs to be important in order to have us grow beyond just emotional garbage that's being pumped out in a good amount of Christianity. To actually have a biblical foundation towards that, and then to be able to hold each other up, hold each other accountable, to have the inpouring and the outpouring be done through church, and then to pray together and to be
Right.
a community. Church isn't a place people go on a Sunday. It's a community of people coming together to praise God with one voice.
Right.
And if the churches in college towns aren't doing that, it's okay to move on to the next one. If they can get through an entire teaching in Scripture is an afterthought, it's okay to move on. And
Right.
I'd say that to just anybody in any church.
Yeah.
If Scripture is an afterthought to the preaching, then it's not a church. It's a social club.
Yeah.
Is that too harsh?
I
I feel like I'm being harsh today.
kind of. Yeah.
But I'm not
I mean,
apologizing for anything I've said, you know? I don't know. So, are there any other aspects of church that you think are important or best to find coming into a new place? And part of it is
that's
your church spoiled at this point. Like,
who.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
If any day that you move, there are maybe only 8 or 9 different churches that would be a lateral move for you right now.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be really hard because that man's a gifted preacher and has his stuff together. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for me, for sure. With my beliefs and what I believe, I'm not saying everyone is like,
right,
has the beliefs of 1122, but, I mean, yeah.
good church though. I mean,
It is,
I'm not
it's a
gonna-
good church. And that is one thing that's definitely sticks out to me is that we are very focused on being true to what the scriptures are saying.
Right,
And straight as an arrow. Is that the term?
Yes.
When it comes to that.
right.
And that's not something that you should give up.
No,
No. Like, that's...
no, because the scriptures
also-
form the foundation of our thoughts. If I don't have that,
Right.
what am I actually talking about? I mean, I've been in messages and sermons that they didn't open scripture for probably about 20 minutes into the sermon. I'm like, so what are we doing here? I mean,
Yeah.
like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And that's a thing... Oh my gosh, Izzy. Sorry. The dog is about to pull this iPad off the table.
Keeping this in.
Yeah. Anyways, like, another thing for me is worship is very important to me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I think is very important as well, and that needs to be done right. If they are not, if it's not being very well thought through about what
Right.
the songs are, what they are singing and worshiping, and the hearts behind the worship leaders, then, I mean, that's another important. I wouldn't say it's as important as scriptural. I don't know. It's kind of all up there in my opinion. But yeah.
But there is, I mean, kind of counterpoint to this. There are other things that you're going to have to probably be willing to sacrifice being in a new town. I mean,
Yeah.
the walls aren't going to be the same color. And I know that sounds petty, but man, you would be surprised the stuff that comes in on church comment cards. It's redonkulous.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This is actually true story. Someone had turned this in at a church, and if they're, because they never put a name on it, because why would you do that?
Yeah.
This is an actual thing that I know a pastor friend of mine has actually gotten as a comment card. It's not my current church, so if you're at my current church and hearing this, and are convicted by this, then that's the Holy Spirit, not me. As a prayer, they were asking for prayer that the pastor's belt and shoes could match.
Wow.
I pray that the pastors would not have a black
That's kinda
belt and
fun.
brown shoes. Yeah, that
And also
and
a
that
little
stuff-
bit true.
that stuff happens all the time, though.
Yeah.
And a good amount of this stuff is just preference. If it isn't scriptural, it's preference.
Yeah.
If I mean, there are aspects that the home church at home isn't going to be the next church, and that's fine because
Right.
churches are different.
Yeah.
And it needs to be okay to sacrifice a couple of things in order to keep the main things the main thing.
Yeah. And Alex, if I remember correctly, you went to Celebration Church. It was one of their campuses, which is an awesome church.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say you probably have some, higher standards as well. And that's something you brought up earlier is we have to be okay to sacrifice different things. Like,
try a small church. It's gonna feel. Oh boy, it'll
weird.
feel different.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice. I mean, to be able to be at a bigger church and then go to a smaller church, it's kind of nice to just try out the other side. Because the downside of these big churches is building that community is stupid hard.
Right.
In these smaller churches, they all know who you are because
Yep.
there's only so many of you,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think we answered it all. I think we did it.
We did it. High five for answering. So, Mr. Chi-Chi, go to church, man.
And everyone else, all right?
No, but really, no. Mr.
Yeah.
Chi-Chi.
Yeah,
No,
go
I'm
to
just kidding.
church. Are you serious?
And then post about it on the internet. Tell us how all of it goes.
Yes.
But Caleb, that's getting harder to do, to post things on the internet.
I know.
Uh-huh.
It is.
There's a current level of pettiness going on in Christianity. Some of it's more petty than others.
Segue. I'm gonna completely point it out.
No, yeah. I was really trying to force that too.
Yeah.
So first of all, we don't even really have to talk about this that much, but there's been a good amount of internet drama between churches and other things.
And just internet drama. There's always internet drama.
And I guess by churches, I mean not churches, because the biggest that came up in the past couple of days, it was the chicken sandwich battles of Popeye and Chick-fil-A. That Popeyes put out a chicken sandwich, and
I seriously don't understand that. I don't know what is so big about that.
it was kind of like fake drama.
Right.
But then it got oddly spiritual because people said, it's like, can't believe you're cheating on the Lord by going to Popeyes. And I don't know.
But everyone's joking, and then someone took it seriously, and then it took a turn for the worse.
I mean, everybody's joking, but, like, everyone's joking, wink. Like, it's just a prank. Is it, though? Like, I don't know. So I want to be sure someone actually at a point had said this. Going to Chick-fil-A doesn't make anybody holier. Right? Like, is that a controversial statement? It doesn't make you a better Christian. It's important to support Christian businesses, take care of the family and all that. But let's be honest, going to Chick-fil-A doesn't make you holier. You can still be a piece of garbage and go to Chick-fil-A because they're that caring that they'll serve anybody.
Yep. And
I know, I worked for them.
I went to Chick-fil-A the other day, and we were traveling, and we stopped at Chick-fil-A for lunch, and we were like sitting there waiting, and these two guys walk up to the cash register, and they're like, "Do you guys sell fish here?" And I could not hold it in. I literally, and the person was like, no. And then they literally just walked out. It's like really weird.
Back during the days I worked for Chick-fil-A, someone came in and asked if they could have an Arby's sandwich. I was like,
Oddly enough, here you go.
I think you want to be next door. Like, it was next door. I think they were just kind of...
You worked at the one on Hodges?
No, I worked in the one in Town Center.
Is there an Arby's? Oh, yeah.
Yes, there definitely is. Yeah. But no, they came in and asked for a roast beef sandwich and a Jamocha shake. And the cow was out.
Yeah.
And I had to be the one to say, like, hey, this is a Chick-fil-A.
Really
like, I don't know how to say it and not make them sound stupid.
But how do you do that?
Actually, they have those next door. I can get a delicious chicken sandwich that the Lord rained down from heaven.
Manna.
Sinner. No. But just like, all right, all fun and games, sure. Can we not? It's a chicken sandwich, people. It's a good chicken sandwich, but it's a chicken sandwich.
I don't want to talk about chicken sandwiches.
I don't either. Oh, yeah, you're fasting. The bigger kind of internet drama, though, is going to go between Bablylon Bee and Snopes. As far as people catching up on this story, here's the thing going on. Bablylon Bee is a Christian satire news site.
Right.
And it's important because they've said over and over, this is satire, by the way.
Yep.
Satire. Definitely satire. This isn't a real thing. It's satire. Snopes.
And it's pretty obvious it's not a real thing, too.
Right. Well, is it, though? That's the thing. Politics is getting strange enough that I have to now check, is this a Babylon Bee article, or did Trump actually tweet he wants to nuke a hurricane? And apparently, he might have said the nuke a hurricane won. So, like, I don't know.
Am I surprised? No.
But, just to bring the nerdy details in, Facebook has an exclusive contract through Snopes who fact checks news articles. And if they claim that an article is false, it tells the Facebook API to not boost this article out
Right.
even if people are sharing it, because it's all about, just because I press the share button doesn't mean everybody sees it, because they can only give so many things so many times. So they put it through a bunch of math to determine the things that show up on people's news feed.
Right.
And if it's boosted down or down boosted, I don't know the right term.
Down boost.
It doesn't pop up as often.
Yeah.
For a place that is only based on internet traffic, or a web-based kind of Christian kind of satire news site, when that happens, they are able to notice that in their checkbook,
Yeah.
because they don't get the clicks and the ads and all that, and because of that, their people begin to suffer. So,
Right.
Snopes has been fact-checking the Bablylon Bee a ton, and because they're satire, it's false.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them didn't get false, which is kind of sad. It's like mostly false, like
That's funny.
based in truth. We gotta hand it to them on that one. But they've had that going on, so they're getting just the garbage kicked out of them. And
Yeah, that's
and they've
dumb.
told Snopes, "Hi, we're satire. You know that." They've acknowledged that in emails, and are still boosting them down by saying that they're fake news. To which the Babylon, I mean, they are
Granted,
fake
yeah.
news. That's what satire is.
Yeah.
But because they're being treated as actual news, their profit is dying because of that. So they're now suing Snopes.
Good.
What a weird,
Good. Yeah,
what
it
a
is
weird, what a weird place that the Christian news satire is suing Snopes.
Yeah. It is weird. I
For
mean,
discrimination because of their conservative beliefs.
yeah. I mean, is that what it is?
29, yeah.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because
Yeah.
they're open Christian.
Well, yeah.
And Snopes, even though they're like neutral, they're very left leaning.
Mm-hmm.
Because Biden's been mouthing off a ton, and they haven't fact checked a single thing that man said. And that man has said some stuff that's just like, no, that's not even close. So, yeah, I don't know. The whole thing is just, it's weird.
And, like, that's another weird thing is, shouldn't that, like, be illegal? I mean, I know it's within Facebook, and they're technically their own private organization. That is a very interesting thing where you can't, but, like, where there's technically, you don't have free speech on Facebook. To an extent.
I
'Cause-
mean, that's the whole argument that Crowder's fighting is this a platform or a publisher? If it's a platform, they have to give open access. If it's a publisher, they can censor anything. But the thing
Right.
they're trying to do, Google,
And they do
YouTube,
censor
Facebook,
stuff, therefore,
according to TOS, but they can't do it based on political thoughts or anything. And kind of the thing people are bringing up, I mean, Prager is in the
PragerU.
they're in the middle of this, is that they're treating conservative things under the ideas that they're a publisher, and everybody else gets treated as if they're a platform. And they're, at this point, just trying to get them to be consistent because they can't get ahead because the goalpost keeps moving every time they try and make a move.
Yeah.
And it's starting to, it's appearing more and more that they're targeting conservative-based thoughts and also Christianity.
Yeah. I mean, which am I surprised by? Not really.
No.
I mean, it's literally
absolutely
projected to happen in the
Right.
Bible.
Right.
And if you don't think the end times are here, check again, guys. I mean,
Right.
everything is pointing towards it. Anyways, but I
Right.
mean, like, it is frustrating. But
It is frustrating.
it comes down to, like, are they justified in suing Snopes? Now, I would say,
absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
legally, yeah.
Yes, 100%.
But, I mean, I think it's an important thing. Like, where does... I'm going to ask you this because you're my Bible question man. Where do... How does...
$50,000 at work right here.
How do...
Fart jokes on the
How
internet.
does... I can't even talk. How does suing people work in a biblical fashion?
So, all right, the biggest thing, there's kind of two things to keep in mind in this process. A Christian shouldn't do that to another Christian. It's if there are kind of battles between Christians, it needs to be handled by the church, because then it's just on public kind of display that everybody is watching the church eat itself. And that's not good for anybody. It's not good for the church, for the culture, for anything to the a message that's being proclaimed if the church is attacking the church.
Right.
The idea is that people that are a part of the church are able to submit to God through those God has put in place as the as the overseers of the church. This is also, comes into play going back to Moses, that as people they had quarrels amongst each other, they'd bring it to Moses. In a New Testament, it's bring it to the elders, and they'd kind of discuss it. And then because there is the submission to the church as an authority, once that came down, that it was the thing that occurred, or they're treated as non-Christians at that point, or they're excommunicated from the church. One of the downsides of the Protestants is that now we have thousands of different denominations, and now this new thing called a non-denominational church, that, to be honest, some of them function more like denominations. Talking to you, Acts 29. I mean, it functions
The Acts 29 domination.
It's not a denomination, but they are, or arch churches, association of related churches. We have a word for that. It's called denomination. I mean, like, that's what, I don't know, but they're non-denominational.
It is kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah, anyways.
A non-denomination's its own denomination now, which is kind of weird. But now that there is this kind of pocketed Christianity, if I disagree in this a church and the elders come down and say, hey, you can't do that, you got to fix it by this, I can just go, well, then I'm out. Right. And I'll go to this church instead. And that, I think, is kind of dangerous to the church. The other part is a Christian can actually bring it to a non-Christian. With that said, it's still, the bigger goal is that this is a non-Christian that needs gospel and grace. In that if I'm going to bring them to court, that's probably going to affect my gospel presentation to them. And there are cases that it's just better to eat the consequences and not go down that path, because it's going to damage the image of Christ. Right. So it's not as cut and dry as, do it or don't do it, but it is, it's a few things to think about on that. Yeah.
Now, that's what's interesting about this. Is because, I mean, it seems fully justified, right? I mean,
absolutely.
But, I mean, you look at it, and when we are being persecuted by people, and I know this is weird because it's two organizations, but...
Two corporate entities, yeah.
Right. But, I mean, should we turn the other cheek? Should they turn the other cheek on this? And I know that's tricky because it's costing them lots of money. Right. But and I'm genuinely I'm basically trying to play like devil's advocate on
and
this.
I mean to be honest on this, I go back and forth on of they're pushing back against a cultural predisposition to silence Christians. I mean, I do think that is an actual thing. I know I made fun of it at the top of the show because none of us are getting drug out of churches and beaten, but this is a thing that all of us need to be prepared to face, is that the cultural landscape is changing, and because I'm a Christian, I may not have a seat at the table. And that's okay, because the church has, in the past, it's thrived under that, because the only people still in it are people that understand that they are okay dying on behalf of this cause.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's the bigger aspect of it. But I mean, even in the end days, it talks about that there's going to be a time that Christians aren't going to be able to engage in economic anything because they don't carry the mark of the beast or anything of that. And personally, I have watched this kind of come about through Facebook, Google, and all that, taking over every aspect. I mean, Apple has their own credit card that is tied to your phone and this kind of stuff. And it's just, lines are beginning to blur that at this point, it's too steep to stop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if people don't have a Facebook account, there's a lot of stuff they just can't do, or they can't connect to a few things. Same on a Google account. They're taking over, and at this point, they're just too big to stop. And I think this is part of that aspect of when it comes time, we're going to have to choose: do I stand up and hold dear to the faith and endure the persecution, or do I give up and give in? And
Right.
in this case, the bee, I think, is pushing back against that, and I think that's okay.
Yeah.
I think it is okay to stand up, and I don't think they're trying to stick it to Snopes. I think they're trying to protect people's ability to be heard,
Yeah.
even through satire.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I don't think Christians should be pushovers. I don't think that's ever been the case.
No.
I mean, like, there's a way to handle it respectfully,
Sure, absolutely.
and I think that they are. I mean, they tried to reach out verbally and be like, hey, we are not a news company. You shouldn't
Right.
be treating us like this.
We're
Didn't
satire.
work.
It says so.
They tried to do it respectfully, and I think that they're still being respectful. I mean, like, you can be respectful in court, but
Right.
like, it is a very interesting like situation, and I think, I mean, I obviously think it's gonna be a bit before that happens, you
Right.
know? Like the full effects of
Sure.
us not having economic value.
I don't think it'll be this kind of switch that gets flipped. You know what I mean, though?
Right.
I don't think that'll be it. I think it'll just be a moment that all of us get up and think, I have to carry cash everywhere because I can't actually.
Oh yeah, no,
You know,
that's I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Because like it is getting to the point where like you can see the path where that would be possible. Like that's
Absolutely.
how this could happen.
Absolutely. I mean, on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all that, canceling a person. You know, canceling them.
I hate that term.
I
so
do too.
much.
It's such a stupid term, but it's actually how it's functioning.
I'm gonna cancel you.
I disagree. Therefore, I cancel them and cut off their means to actually engage in economic transactions because I disagree on their platform. Therefore, boycott them and cancel them. And I'm just, at some
People
point,
have that power. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. So,
Like not economic. Well, I guess yeah, it can be. I mean,
Yeah.
like
I mean, it is
and
economic.
even like socially, you know, because you see these, like this YouTuber that that messed up once, or like maybe it was a Christian who said something.
Right.
I don't know if this has happened in the case of Christian, but and then everyone decides to make that fact known
Right.
and blow up. Like look at
Right.
I'm trying to like James Gunn. You know,
Yeah.
like he made this one mistake in his past, which
Right.
he apologized multiple times
Right.
for. But people were like, you know what? Hey, let's screw this guy's career
Yeah.
up.
Like, oh my
And-
gosh, I saw a tweet he did 10 years ago. Yeah, man. He was 20.
Yeah, and like
he was 22. Yeah, he made an inappropriate tweet.
and
at
he
22.
and then he got fired, and basically his career, like as a filmmaker and someone in that industry where it is very, you know, your beliefs matter a lot,
Right.
because that can
More
they
than
don't
they
care.
will admit. Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, like
yeah.
if they don't want to hire you because of your beliefs, they won't.
Right.
They have plenty of other people they
and
can
they
hire.
don't. I mean, that's a documented thing that's gone on.
I mean, of course, DC took him in because you know, they're DC.
Marvel brought him back.
Well, yeah, no, they brought him back, but like it was just funny to me.
But
that,
Chris
like,
Pratt did that, so that's another win for the Christians.
I know, right?
Rock on,
But, I
Chris.
mean-
Come on our show.
That is a
Tagging him in this.
scenario where, due to our skills, you know,
Right.
like, because by trade he probably was only really good at filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you do that to someone, they won't be able to get a job
Right.
in that industry again. I mean,
Right. I mean,
So,
yeah.
but he's a super talented,
Yeah.
so obviously other people would hire him. But I mean, like,
But for Christians,
you
it's
can
going to be
see
different.
the extreme
yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, this is the thing that at some point all of us are just going to get up and say, "Oh my gosh, here's where I am," and I think that's the scariest part. But as far as persecution goes, we need to be prepared to face that, and I don't think we've been prepared as much to face that as possible, because anytime someone an article gets dropped on Facebook, I know people that have a meltdown. And kind of the point I was bringing up in that earlier thing about the Nigerian pastors is, I mean, these guys, they get up after being beat almost to death and they'll go preach.
Yeah.
Because they understand that the message that
That's
they have, the
amazing.
gospel that they have, is stronger than anything else that anybody else can do to them. And they said, like,
Right.
no, if I could die preaching the gospel, and I'm super okay with that.
Yeah.
And I think keeping that perspective then also puts into context a good amount of the preferences that all of us tend to hold. It's like, well, I think the music needs to be this, this, and that. Well, but it's about glorifying God. So the preference aspect is... when I've put Christ first, a good amount of the preferences kind of take care of themselves a little bit.
Right.
So,
And another interesting thing, I mean, this is something I've noticed, like, super recently, too, is, like, I've been able to tell the difference between people, like, when it comes to Christianity, people who absolutely despise you because of it, and then there's also people who don't believe in it, but, like, they kind of see that light.
right.
And it is interesting because, I mean, I don't know what point I'm trying to make. I just thought it was an interesting observation. Like, maybe it's because God is, like, working through that person. And it's not to say that that person despises you can't become a Christian one
Sure.
day. But it's like, what I'm trying to say, I think I've, like, been able to see where people's hearts are at in the hardness stage, you know? And it's just super interesting. And I think that plays into a lot of, like I was saying,
Right.
people canceling people because...
Right. And our posture during persecution is a testimony to the greatness of God.
Right.
And it's okay to be strong in persecution and say, hey, this thing sucks, but God's already got the W, so I'm going to be with him. I mean, there's not really anything else I can do other than that. So I know the bee is getting, they're getting taken through it at this point. And to be honest, I stand with the bee and think that they do have a clear precedence here of their being discriminated for their beliefs and all that, and I think they're trying to handle it in a godly manner, but it's still coming out of a place of strength, and I think people are taking notice because of that. And the only thing I'm hoping is that this doesn't get dragged down as being too politicky, and is instead this idea of protecting the innocent and giving a voice to the people that need a voice.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I will say, it's very, very difficult for a satire news site to talk about a thing that's actually happening. Because I read the article they put out about Snopes, and I was like, is this for real?
Yeah.
It's really hard to do. Their Facebook post, I was like, is this a joke?
Yeah.
Snopes,
That is pretty funny.
Snopes and demonetizing, what is happening? And they're like, no, this one's real, people. This is happening. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Crazy times, but I think there's an opportunity in all of this to figure out the things that are the most important,
Right.
and the things that all of us carry dear as important to our faith and to our growth closer to Christ. So,
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
And the chicken sandwiches, just eat a chicken sandwich if you're not fasting.
Yes.
Sorry, Caleb. How many days
Eat
to
it.
fast do you have left? We have like 10?
I don't even know.
It's about 10 or 11, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
He's doing the Daniel fast, and I'm not. Irony.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Caleb fast, and all that is the cookie dough Caleb can't eat.
Yeah, I did give you my cookie dough. Have you eaten any?
Huh?
Is it delicious?
It was delicious, yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
We can talk about cookie dough, but
Where can
I'd rather
they,
tell people that if they're interested in finding us.
Oh my gosh, you
They
little jerk.
I'm good at the segue.
I was about to do it to you, and then you just did it to me.
Put on your helmets. We're going on a segue.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And
iTunes?
Well, yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. Yeah, you can find the podcast. You can either go to iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts at.
Unless it's Spotify, then you
yeah,
can't. Because I'm not paying them money.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm cheap.
And then
Until that Dunkin' or Starbucks money comes in.
Also-
the only coffee I still drink.
also you can find us at thegospeloutpost.com/nobodyspecial. You can listen to it there if you want. That's kind of weird, but I do know someone who does that. And
Cool.
also, you can ask us questions. If you want to ask us questions like Mr. Chi-Chi did, or say hello, we would love to hear from you. And you can ask us questions on that page. Or you can go to Facebook or Instagram and DM us there. Or just check out our Facebook and Instagram.
Nobody Special Podcast.
Nobody Special Podcast, yep.
We don't have a Twitter. We're
Nobody
not going
cares. Yep.
No, but that's... You took all of it.
I did. Yep.
I don't need to be here.
But, I mean...
Go ahead and wrap it up. I'll be under the table.
So, I mean, I think that's going to do it for us today.
You're taking mine. Now you're taking mine, too?
I think it's going to do it for us today. I'm Caleb.
And I'm Danny.
And we are
Nobody special.
Special.